Hello and welcome. Today, as you know, is going to be another important and very special tutorial. Special because I feel like with covering Electric, which is another physical modeling synthesizer and another, dare I say, very less used Ableton Live instrument, probably just because not many people use them. And I could be wrong. Maybe like I've been living in a cave for the last 10 years or 5 years and like everyone does it now. You know, I have no idea. But in any event, drop your comments below if you actually do use collision, tension, and Electric. And if you use them because you watched my tutorials on them or you opened it up once, that doesn't count. Or you have a preset in Electric that you like, that doesn't count. I mean, like you actually opened it up, default preset, and started tweaking parameters. So let me know. I would actually be very curious. So let's insert a MIDI track, record enable it, and of course, drag and drop a wonderful Electric. Now I'm just gonna minimize this EQ8 and I'm gonna minimize this compressor. Put a limiter on here. I explained limiter and other ones. Basically, if it clips, goes into the red above 0 dB, that's actually harmful for your speakers and your ears. So just drop a limiter on there. I'm also going to come into, oh, and by the way, if you were wondering why an EQ8 and a compressor and a limiter were on here by default, you can go into the preferences and you can save, like every time you open up an audio track or a MIDI track, like you can just always have there be devices on there by default. And so I use an EQ, a compressor, and a limiter on every track, because pretty much any track you use, if you're actually like finishing music, you know, and you're mixing your music, it would be hard. You would be hard pressed to not need an EQ at the mixing stage or a compressor, and even a limiter. I mean, I guess people could be like, well, you know, you don't need a limiter on every track, but if you put a limiter on the master track, you're fine. I get that, but I also kind of like to see individually. If I have an individual track that's clipping, I'd rather nip it in the bud. Anyways, we should probably get into the tutorial. So Electric, if you didn't know, there's a thing called electric pianos. And electric pianos sound amazing. You've probably heard them in so much music. A Rhodes piano is very popular, and it just has this beautiful sound. Think about it, an analogy would be like if a piano, like a regular piano, like something that, you know, you're not just going to pick up and move up your staircase, like an actual legit acoustic piano, I believe is the proper name. So a piano to an acoustic guitar is like an electric piano to an electric guitar. So it's still a piano, just like it's still a guitar, but in this electric case, there is an electric pickup. And Electric, the Ableton device, seeks to emulate an electric piano. And it's really not that complicated, and I'm going to give the biggest sound design tip right now, right here, straight away. It pretty much sounds good all the time. So, yeah, it pretty much always sounds good. And if you throw down a phaser, specifically a phaser, it sounds extra delicious. But I'm going to deactivate this for now. And if you want to get a nice silky reverb on here, it'll sound really good as well. So this is a default Electric. Let's play some notes and see what we have. Sounds really great. But let's turn off this hybrid reverb right now and see the difference. Very dry. Now, I really like big, washed-out reverbs, so if you don't like it, I like to put it on because I'm gonna have reverb on pretty much every track. That's just how I do it. But I want to, and I'm just making some tweaks to the reverb, because without I'd rather just listen to it that way, so you don't have to. But that's why when you're doing sound design, there's no right or wrong answers. If someone's like, never put a reverb on a track that's got bass, you know what I mean? And you're like, but I want to. If you then didn't because some like old curmudgeon-y music producer on YouTube is telling you that, and you're like, I must obey what this old snarky man is telling me. Well, you gotta learn a thing for yourself. Anyways, let's get back to this tutorial. It's always good to start with something delicious. In fact, let's just get super delicious very quick. Let's put this phaser on. I like to put it on Hertz, lower it. Without... I don't know why it's not doing a whole lot there. Whatever, let's not force it. In fact, maybe we don't need a phaser. Phasers can sound, just a tip, phasers can sound absolutely amazing with electric pianos. But because it's not doing much for me right now, I'm like, I don't care. Maybe later I'll do it. So it's all about like, does it benefit your sound? And that's really what we're getting into with electric is these, as I describe it here, and as I start tweaking the parameters, the main question you want to ask yourself is, does it improve my sound? You know? So right now, we're on hammer. We can be on fork, we can be on damper pickup, we can be on global, and each time we click, this little display changes. And so what happens, and by the way, when you click on hammer and you see this little thing lit up blue, which you can also click this, and it's fork, damper, it's kind of just illustrating what's going on. So just so you know, in an electric piano and even on a regular piano, first you start with a hammer. So this hammer, when you hold down a key, a hammer lifts up, and when you release it, the hammer hits a fork. I don't know if it's called a fork in a regular piano, but for our intents and purposes, it's a fork in electric. So this hammer, it's got the stiffness and noise. So let's play around and let's change this and see what we hear. Now I'm going to do something that I'm going to go into MIDI effects and drop a velocity on here. And what I like to do, and I'm going to be doing this more, especially when I play a lot of shorter notes, when it's longer notes, more legato notes, I don't really care or even want the velocity to adjust. But when it's like shorter notes, especially electric, because, you know, I might play an electric like this, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want, when I'm playing on my laptop's keyboard, so each time I hit a note, it's outputting full velocity, and a real player of a piano is not going to play like that. So to make sure every note is having a different velocity, I'm going to give it some random here. And what I like to do is I like to change these controls, output high, output low, and then the range and the lowest. I don't have that all memorized. I just don't want it to randomly select like a velocity that like you don't hear. So I typically move this up to like 30, so it's not going to play anything lower. You know what I mean? So I don't want it to be that loud, so I'm adjusting it like this. So without, hear it. Yeah, you definitely do. I'm going to lower this a little bit, maybe give it a little less random. Just a little bit. Sounds more human. Let's get back. So let's play with the stiffness here. Does exactly what you would think. So this is basically saying, and by the way, this hammer hits a fork. The fork vibrates just like a resonator. In fact, you could say it is a resonator. And then that goes to the pickup and also the damper, which kind of works in conjunction with the pickup at this stage, and then goes to the global and gets pushed out. So let's do the hammer. So the stiffness. How stiff's the hammer? You know, I'm going to play it up here because what I've noticed, and maybe you know this too, electric pianos, they can have this quality that almost sounds like you're hitting glass. I like that sound. I don't want to go too high because I want it to really ring. And let's play with this noise. So when this hammer strikes the piano, this hammer might be stiff. We just did stiffness. When it strikes, there's a kind of a noise. Like if you were to strike a snare drum, there's like a very noisy component that happens. So how much noise? So I'm liking this. Now let's go down here. As I said, these change, this bottom panel. Let's go here and let's change the force. So how much force? Obviously 0, you're not going to have much. See, it got really loud there. Now let's do noise. Decay. It doesn't sound like it's changing, but hold a note down and you'll see what happens. Decay at 0, I'm holding a note down. Put decay up. Hear it? So it's not like a release knob would be on a regular synthesizer. It's kind of like if you're holding it down, it like sustains. That's another really cool thing about electric pianos is you can like hold down notes and they sustain very long. So if you're someone who's like, well, on an acoustic piano, if you hold down a good notes on a good quality Sterling, they'll ring for 3 hours until the baby goes to bed. You know, I guess I'm not an expert, but I'm just trying to share. So this stuff sounds good. I'm liking this. Now let's go to Fork. Now Fork, from at least what the Ableton devs wrote, has the most impact on the sound. So let's see if it's true. And the tine in the tone. Let's lower this global volume. Wow, that's really loud. Let's lower just a little bit. Lower the tone. Ow, did that hurt your ears? I should stop saying that because when I'm like editing the video, I'm like going in and finding the little area that's like really loud and I'm like lowering it down. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I should really stop saying those things that I'm just going to edit out later anyway. Boy, this is super loud. You want to know why? Because it's very dynamic. Some of the notes are loud, some of them aren't because I have this velocity. So I'm going to go into this velocity and turn down this random. And by the way, guys, I'm doing this velocity because, as I mentioned, I'm playing my laptop keyboard. So it gives every note full velocity. So if you're playing on like, if you're just sequencing in MIDI notes on like a MIDI clip or you're like playing a keyboard, you don't have to have the velocity there, but it's also good to know that the velocity does that because I think a lot of people might really know Ableton, but like hardly ever use the MIDI effects. If you use MIDI effects, you know what you got to do right now. God, I'm so corny. But so let's keep playing here. Wow, I'm lowering the release and it's going hyperbolic. So that's why I said like this thing actually is insanely loud. I don't want it to be that loud. So yeah, I mean, I'm liking that. Now let's go into the pickup. Here's the big thing with pickup. You've got R and W, and it's like the two most common types of pickups. So here's R, W. Whoa, that's smoky. Symmetry. I mean, I could probably guess what it does, but if I'm wrong, it just turn it if it sounds good. I like W, so I'm using it. Oh, that's nice. Ooh. Yeah, wow. I mean, like just the tiniest tweak can make it be so different. So to be honest with you guys, that's kind of it. You know, you can get a lot of different sounds, but they're kind of just similar. And I'm going to turn on phaser. Hear that wonderful drift? Oh, listen. Yeah. Turn down the dry wet a little bit. Let's turn up warmth. So good. Play around with the center. So if I turn it up, if I turn it down, sounds like chunkier down there. Let's maybe do here. Let's turn up a spread. Blend. I liked it kind of where it was. I like to do hertz, and I like to do under 1 hertz, a little bit lower because it like moves it slower. Let's go to delay and drop in echo on here. I never use echo. Let's just see what we can get. Yeah, I definitely don't want that kind of a sound. I'm going to turn it on triplet and do, so that's eighth note triplets. Turn feedback way up. Turn dry wet down. I don't like it. Anyways, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I had a feeling this was going to be short, and I didn't want to make something too short, and I wanted to do a lot of talking about it, and it's really good. Phasers sound just, I mean, come on, let's take a listen to this one more time now. Ooh, that was kind of weird. That was just a weird chord. So what is happening? It's basically tension, collision, and electric are all kind of the same. You've got some sort of a object that hits an object, in this case a fork. This fork vibrates, produces, and it resonates, and then a pickup will then pick it and boost it up in volume and give it this electric, harmonically dense quality. And these different areas will have different physical properties because it's it's using physical modeling technology to do mathematical calculations. Reverb sounds delicious with it, but you don't need it. Phaser flanger, excuse me, I'm only saying phaser flanger because that's what it's called. Phaser sounds amazing. Actually, let's see what flanger sounds like it. So this is a minor chord with phaser. With flanger. Not really hearing anything. Doubler. Ooh, interesting. Kind of sounds... Yeah. Phasers just sound great. So that's really it, guys. If you found this useful and you would like more tutorials, please like, comment, and subscribe.